public school system, I must ask, who will lead the future conversation regarding sex education when parents cannot or will not? If not you, then who? Social media? Porn? By taking the public school system out of the equation, you are leaving the conversation open. A conversation that social media and porn have no problem taking the lead on. Blanks filled with a script that consists of objectifying females and aggressive, controlling males always getting what they want from their female counterpart. Even if it includes violence and rape, a script that does not discuss consent, let alone the importance of being able to withdraw consent. Is that what you want your daughter, son, or their future spouse to believe a healthy relationship should consist of? How does this play out in society at large?
Dear Mom and Dad, in my communication class on sexual literacy, I learned about some important things I would like to share with you. At first, I will admit I was skeptical about what, as a 20-year-old, there was left for me to learn. I figured it would be the same tired old things, sex ed, slogans like no means no, and use protection. Things I've heard a million times before. Having learned so much from this course, I look back at the mindsets as a great example of the shortcoming of my high school sexual education. Not to say that those aren't valid things to keep in mind when hooking up, but why did it stop there?
Dear Mom and Dad, our generation has been ill-informed by the porn industry and all of its detrimental effects. My peers and I have been deeply affected by the influx of new technology throughout our lives. Porn sites being the most visited. Because schools and parents have not taught teens about sex, we were quite literally left to our own devices, and many teens turned to porn to teach themselves about sex. If we could have just gotten past the awkwardness of talking about sex, or if you would have answered my questions, maybe I wouldn't have so much baggage to unpack.
Learning over the years helped me understand why my first sexual experiences made me feel worthless. But it wasn't until this class, learning about the effects of porn, that it clicked. If I had learned earlier, maybe I wouldn't have tried to convince myself after I had sex that it was good. Maybe I wouldn't have let myself feel used time and time and again.
The classic tale of a freshman girl dating the athletic senior boy never ends in a fairy tale. If I only knew what the bases were, then I would have been able to set a boundary. Here's the truth. I was sexually coerced into appeasing the golden boy's desires in ways that I did not even know existed at 15. It was emotional abuse, manipulation, and doing things that I didn't want to do because he loved me, and it wasn't a big deal. I did not understand what true love meant, and I was made to believe that sex was the pinnacle of all of it. I was used for my innocence. My boyfriend withheld his love from me unless we were doing what he wanted to in the bedroom.
I would never have considered the psychological damage watching porn since I was 11 years old might have caused. But now I'm coming to the realization, how could it not?
I only recently learned about consent beyond yes means yes. I am certain it is one of the most misunderstood and misinterpreted concepts in my generation. Things we have always done as teens, things we believed were normal, turned out to not be okay at all. My generation has grown up understanding the basic or traditional forms of consent, yes or no. Many think consent is granted because you previously allowed me to, or that is a lifetime or relationship-long agreement. Too many teens think persuading is okay to get someone to consent. Very relevant to most of our teen experiences, most of us have no idea that consent cannot be given under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
Here is what we need to start to learn. What is healthy during sex and what is not? That it is normal to feel awkward sometimes, and it is not healthy to feel like you are just an object. It's okay to stop in the middle of it, and it's not healthy to feel like you have to stick it out for your partner.
Consent is more like an ongoing conversation, checking in with your partner as sexual activity escalates to make sure they are okay with everything. A yes is not a yes and a plow through. It is important to observe your partner's body language and nonverbal cues while hooking up with them. It is essential to check in, verbally. Giving consent is all about what you and your partner mutually desire to do. But ultimately, you have absolute control and agency over your mind and your body.
If conversations about sex, emotions, and relationships were normalized, I could have learned more. It could have learned what really matters. It matters that sometimes I am left feeling worthless after sex. It matters that I think I can make a boy love me by having sex with him. It matters when the boy leaves before you even have your pants on. It matters when you are bawling your eyes out and the next morning wondering why you had sex. It matters when you have a pregnancy scare and there is no one there to tell you that it will be okay. It matters when you wake up in pain after sex and wondering if the sex was really consensual. It matters that you hear stories of other sexual assaults and wonders if what happened to you was sexual assault or not. This is the information that really matters.
I am sharing this with you to emphasize the importance of parents having tough conversations about sex and healthy relationships with their children. Prior to this class, I had never admitted to myself how much hurt for the 15-year-old girl that didn't know how to say stop, or that it was her right. I never realized how much pain I carried for the high schooler that did not know that she deserves a romantic partner that communicates with her and understands her boundaries and never coerces her or makes her feel uncomfortable. How was I supposed to know?
Now I have the understanding of why the culture of teenage sex is the way that it is. I now know that sex is something that connects two people and shouldn't leave one person feeling empty. And if I get into a situation where I begin to feel uncomfortable, I am much better equipped to communicate what I'm feeling. Before, I never wanted to speak up, mostly because I lacked education.
I think schools need to do a better job at teaching us how to have sex safely and have healthy relationships rather than worrying about us having sex. Because the truth is, it's going to happen at some point. And wouldn't you rather be informed how to make the experience healthy, consensual, and safe? What they don't teach us only means that kids have sex unprepared in so many ways.